I did have a maid when I was younger.
We had a maid at our house too when I was younger.
The maid I had in my house, name was Esther.
And ours was named Essie Lee.
My relationship with my maid was, she did all the cooking, the cleaning, everything else around the house during the day.
Essie Lee at our house mostly just did some light cleaning, some ironing, and took care of us when we were little. We played outside and she would walk us around the block, and that was about it.
The only other adults that was in my house was my mother and daddy. So, I mean, she wasn't treated any differently than them, but I mean, she wasn't there at night and all that. I mean, she was never there even when my daddy was there. Just really during the day when my mother was there, so.
Essie Lee was treated like any other adult in the house, but her, she was there to do a job, and so when my mother and daddy sat down and had coffee, she didn't sit down and have coffee with them. You know, she was there at work.
Well, back then, I don't think I thought about her situation being a maid in our house. I mean, back then in the early 50s, it was a given. Near every white person had a maid in their house, or somebody came in a couple of days a week at least.
Well, I thought that Essie Lee loved us. We loved her, and we thought she enjoyed being with us, and you know, she played with us and read to us, and we just had a really good time. She did have her own little boy, and so we were always interested in, you know, him, and she would talk to us about him. His name was Dwight.
I think Esther came to our house, I want to think she came 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. You know, I mean, I don't remember the hours. I mean, I was in school most of the time, so I'm not really sure of the hours she spent there today.
And I think Essie Lee came, I would guess 3 to 5 days a week. And I know she must have stayed till the late afternoon because my daddy would take her home. She didn't have a car, and so my daddy would have to pick her up and take her home every day. So for him to be home from work at 5, she probably stayed till about 5:30. When my daddy would take her home, or even if my mother would take her home in the car, she always sat in the back seat. It didn't matter if there was nobody else in the front seat but the driver. She always sat in the back seat. I think it was just a sign of respect. I'm not sure why, but she always did. You have to remember that when we were 5 and 6 years old, a loaf of bread probably cost 25 cents. So if someone was paid 50 cents an hour, that was a lot of money at that time.
I had no idea what my parents paid Esther. I don't have any idea what she paid.
I don't know what Essie Lee made either, but I know that my mom and dad would know when Essie Lee maybe was having some hard times, and they would always give her extra money. They were always giving her things that she needed.
She could cook some of the best fried cornbread you've ever tasted in your life. Esther could cook, partner. She was a good cook. The worst was, I was at the dinner table one day and used the N-word, and my mother really tore into me hard and made me apologize to Esther. Which, I don't think I used the word and didn't even realize what I was doing. I was so young, so.
While Essie Lee was at our house working, or during the time she was there working, she got married, and we all got to go to her wedding. So we were all excited about that. And then the other thing I remember that we loved was when my mother and daddy went out of town, and my grandmother would stay with us, and there were 4 of us girls in the family, and Essie Lee would spend the night at our house and help my grandmother take care of us because she was older and, you know, could use some help. So that was always fun. And the worst memory, I guess, was, when we found out she was not going to be able to come back and work anymore. You know, she had her own family and husband and all. We were all sad about that.
I don't really remember. I mean, like I say, we really weren't around Esther that much because by the time I got home from school, she was usually gone, except for, I guess, holidays or something. But I don't even remember when my parents, we stopped having a maid. I mean, it was early on. I mean, I was still probably in grammar school, maybe junior high. And so I just, I mean, it wasn't like a feeling thing that she just wasn't there one day.
We were very sad when Essie Lee left, and since we've been grown, I think probably even possibly after Jeannie, my daughter, Mary Beth's mom, was born, we got to see Essie Lee one time, and it was a really nice reunion. When I saw the movie The Help, it reminded me so much of, when I was growing up. Things weren't quite exactly like that, but we all had people that worked in our homes, but they were part of our family. My parents took care of them when they got sick, and so I really felt very comfortable watching the movie because I felt like it was about a time that I grew up in.
Yeah, it was, I'm like Mary, I don't think it was near that bad here. But it was a good time. I mean, it was a time that you could see that it was like that. By no means was it anywhere close to that. I mean, like I say, ours was, she came in and did a little washing and cooking and cleaning, and she was always gone before the end of the day. I mean, I don't think they worked near the hours that they did like in that Help movie.
And I think in The Help, I think that was a little extreme because she did not wait on us. She was more like a babysitter. So as small children, yes, she would help get us some lunch and stuff like that. But she did not wait on my mother. She didn't serve her food. She didn't serve her coffee like the maids did on The Help. So I think she was more of a friend, almost like a family member.
I believe most of my friends had maids, and I think they're all treated about the same. I never saw any of them treated any differently, really.
I had a friend whose family had a young man who he would work in the yard, he would cook, he would drive them anywhere they needed to go, he would take their cars to be serviced, and then there was a lady that worked in the house, and she cleaned and ironed, and again, they were like family members at my friend's house. I think when I look back now, I don't think it was right for us to have separate restrooms, separate places to sit in the movie theaters. But it's just the way things evolved. And now we're trying to make things a whole lot better for everybody because we're all alike.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was a bad time in our country's history. And even worse before that. I mean, we grew up in the we grew up in the 50's and 60's, civil rights and all that. And it was just a bad spot in our history as far as I'm concerned. And I'm thankful that we have moved on from that, and we still have a long ways to go.
I think about the movie that we've been watching together, Driving Miss Daisy, where they stopped for Miss Daisy to go to the restroom, and Hope couldn't even go to the restroom at the service station. So I think that was horrible. I think that was really bad.
And my dad opened a service station in 1963, which was built by the company that had it. But at that point, in 63, we had a colored restroom. You had a male restroom, a female restroom, and a colored restroom. And I can't remember the year, to tell you the truth. But at some point, they knocked that wall out, and they made a big ladies' restroom. And so that we had just a ladies and a men's restroom.
Well, as I look at it now, I don't think it was equality. But back then, as a child, I didn't know any different. So I didn't think anything about it then. But now I look back and I realize that, you know, we didn't have equality in every way back then.
No, I definitely would say in the early 50s, 60s, we did not have equality at all with the blacks. You know, it wasn't there. They weren't in the schools, you know, and the movie theaters, you know, I mean, a restroom situation, it just went on and on and on, and it was a terrible, terrible time.
I do remember Martin Luther King. I guess the first time I really ever understood anything and thought about it was when he was killed. That's, you know, and that was the news, because I guess I just didn't know a lot about him before that. I had heard of him, and once he was killed, I, you know, learned more about him.
Yeah, and I mean, I had heard of Martin Luther King, and, you know, this movement that was going on, but you know, that was like way off from here. It didn't affect us back then. It didn't affect me, I guess I'd say.
I guess the first one I ever knew about or thought about was I can just remember Selma, Alabama. Isn't that where the black students went to a white school? And that's the first that I guess I was old enough to really understand anything about. And there was a lot of trouble over that.
And they were, in Selma, Alabama, they were marching to go to Montgomery, the capital of Alabama. And they crossed the bridge there, and there was all kind of fights and clubbings and all that, you know, and I can still remember things like George Wallace trying to block them from going to school. You know,
in Alabama.
In Alabama.
No, that was Georgia. That was Georgia.
Georgia, I'm sure, Georgia. But there was just, you know, it was on the news nearly every day.
I think that we've been shaped a lot. Poppy and I went to school when it was just an all-white school, and then the black students went to an all-black school. And during our high school education, we started going to school together. And we realized that we were all the same people. You know, we were all just alike. Everybody just wanted to get a good education, make a good living, have a family, go to church, and just make a good life.
And I think I was shaped by the fact that my dad, like I was saying a while ago, opened that station in '63. And I worked shoulder to shoulder with blacks, Hispanics, whites, from that point on until I went into service in the military in 1970, which also I worked with blacks, Hispanics, whatever. And then from there I went into the oil field, and the oil field is the same thing. So I feel like, you know, I was lucky as not being stuck in a small town and never knowing anything other than racism. You know, I feel like I was lucky to be shaped by what I experienced in my life.
I think we've come a long way, a very long way. We've had our first black president, and we don't have segregated schools anymore. As far as I know, in our area we don't. We all have equal education, we go to church together, and hopefully we've come a long way and still have a ways to go.
Yeah, I think we've come a long way. I don't think we're anywhere close to being where we need to be. I think the generation right before ours, our parents, it was rough. Our generation, and Mary said a while ago, we started integrating when we were in high school. Our daughter's generation, of course, went to school with blacks, Hispanic, everything. And now my granddaughters, they don't even know there is such a thing as racism. So I feel like maybe by the time my granddaughter reaches a working age, there will be, hopefully, no more discrimination. Blacks, whites, Hispanics, females, anything. I'm hoping by the time she reaches her working age, it'll be a much better country.